Hello, hello, happy new year, and welcome to another fun-filled podcast where we are continuing our Uzumaki manga review. So for those of you who are unfamiliar, we are going through the Uzumaki manga by Junji Ito because there's a new anime that's coming out, allegedly. There's been like 2 trailers. It's going to come out at some point, I imagine. But we are going to go through the entire manga by volume, and we're going to talk about all the different chapters, and we're just going to share our thoughts and review them. But there's a couple rules. First of all, we don't know how to pronounce half the characters' names, if not more than half. So, I'm sorry if I mispronounce any names. 2, we're going to be going full-fledged into spoiler territory. If you haven't read this comic book, go read it. It's like $20. You can get it on Amazon. It's worth your money. Read it, come back, and then listen to our podcast. 3, we're going to be doing a kill count. We are going to go through and try to count up all of the deaths. And rule 4, we have to rate each chapter out of creepy Junji Ito heads, with 5 being the most and 0 being the least.
Kind of added on to the kill count rule, we'll also be counting the people that get mutated. You'll kind of understand what that means when we get to that point, but yeah.
All right, so for this episode, we're going to be doing Volume 2, so that's going to be Chapters 7 to Chapters 12. So, this is an interesting section because this is the last section before things go, like, full weird. But it starts out with Chapter 7, which is Jack in the Box. Jack in the Box is, I want to say it's one of the more iconic stories from the collection. It's at least one of the ones that sticks out the most with me. That being said, it's by no means one of my favorites, but it is still pretty good. So a quick summary of the story. It's Kyrie / Kyrie. We'll just call her Kyrie. She and her friend have been getting harassed by some little boy at school. He has the nickname Jack in the Box because he's always popping out and trying to scare them. And he also has like some kind of weird crush on Kyrie, so he's always like trying to get like her phone number and stuff. And in one of the sections, he's trying to impress her, and in the process, he gets run over by a car.
Yeah, which
yeah, go ahead.
Oh yeah, which a weird detail I didn't notice until after like rereading this from the movie. There's like a crack in the middle of the windshield, kind of like what happened to that reporter guy after he ran the kid over in the film. Like, you know, his head, like his eye went through it, but there's a crack there, and you don't really see the driver, so I don't know what happened to the driver. But
oh, dang, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is one of the more brutal issues. At least it's slightly more brutal than I think some of the ones we went through in the last couple issues, because this is like a small little kid who gets run over by a car, and the actual panel of him like sticking out from underneath the the fender of the car it's pretty gross. It definitely makes you feel a little uncomfortable. But what happens afterwards, after they have the funeral and stuff, Kyrie gets a letter, well, not a letter, a package from Jack in the Box boy, and there's a little Jack in the Box guy inside of it. And I think isn't it at that night it starts like talking to her or something weird like that?
Yeah, like blaming her because she had pretty much just rejected him straight out before he ran out into traffic, and so yeah, she wasn't happy.
One of the things that you're going to start seeing in the next couple issues is the actual mental toll that affects both Kyrie and Suichi in these issues, that they start losing their mind kind of literally. Suichi more so than Kyrie, but
oh, he's already gone.
Yeah, he's pretty much already gone at this point. But they decide to go out into the graveyard and dig up Jack in the Box boy's grave. And what exactly is their plan? Is it to put like a wooden stake in their heart or something?
Yeah,
they want to put a stake in his heart.
Yeah.
Oh no, it's a really great section just because, I mean, they're going into a graveyard and they're doing something creepy, and they do dig up his corpse, and you get to see what he looks like, and he's this cool stitched up zombie. And as you can imagine, he comes to life and tries to kill them.
Yeah,
but the twist is that when he's like attacking them, because he is all like stitched up and stuff, he's like falling apart, and like eventually his legs fall out, and then this big old spring comes out of his chest, and he starts bouncing around trying to kill him, but eventually he does just fall into little bits. And it turns out the spring that was inside his chest as a zombie was actually the the shock absorber from the car.
The suspension
that when he got
spring.
ran over, he got so like tied up around it that they couldn't even pull it out. They just had to cut it off and bury him with it inside his body. All in all, the end section has some really great artwork. It's the first half I don't care as much for, but the zombie Jack in the Box kid just looks so freaking cool that like you can't not like this one.
Yeah.
I think the likelihood of this one showing up in the Uzumaki anime is very, very likely. If I had to rate this one, I guess, would I give this one a 5 out of 5? That seems a little bit too much. I'll give this one a 4 out of 5 Junji Ito heads.
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking too. Like, it's a very, very solid start to this volume. Kind of keeping with the theme of the last couple ones involving like a friend or associate of Kyrie or Shuichi getting, I don't know, overtaken by the spiral. In this case, a suspension spring. Literally being lodged inside of him. But yeah, like one of the things I really like, especially about the the zombie part, he just like, when they're digging him up, he like kind of just like throws the freaking coffin lid off. Like he's, a Jack in the Box coming out.
Oh, dang, I never even made that connection.
Yeah, like, there's like a little, like, vent window on the coffin lid for some reason.
Yeah, is that a Japanese thing, or is that just this comic book thing?
That might be a Japanese thing, because I think there's some culture. I could see that as that being a, like, way for, like, the spirit to get out. Because I know they say earlier that, like, there haven't been as much cremations because of, I don't know, what's been happening with, like, the smoke going up in spirals and people getting weirded out. So they've been burying people more. But, yeah. And then he starts, like, bouncing around, like, how do you pronounce it? I know it's spelled, like, Jiangshi, but I think it's pronounced Chongqi. It's, like, a undead creature from Chinese mythology. It's, like, a zombie that moves around by, like, hopping with its arms, like, extended forward, but he doesn't really do that. He just, like, friggin' moon bounces.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I hope that they get that right in the anime, that he just kind of, like, jumps around unnaturally. He just kind of, like, floats up.
Yeah, that'd be freaking weird.
But, all in all, pretty good story. What do you rate it with?
Yeah, I agree with you. I would say a 4 out of 5. I think any higher is, like, a little bit too much, but it's still a pretty damn solid story. Artwork's really good, especially, like you said, in the last bit of it. Yeah.
It's a good one. Alright, do you want to take the lead with the next story?
Yes, okay. Chapter 8 is The Snail. Story opens up, Kyrie's talking with her friend, who I honestly forget the name of. I'll just call her Rose Tico from now on, because that's who she kind of looks like. But no. So Kyrie and her friend are, like, at school, it's raining, and this kid named Katayama, pretend like I'm pronouncing that right.
I think that one actually is right.
Yep, shows up really late to school, and they're like saying, oh yeah, he only shows up when it's raining. And so he shows up, and he's like all dripping, and he's like walking really slow. And the teacher, this other kid in class, pretty much all give him grief.
The kid looks really weird too. He has like these like giant lips. And he's like kind of fat.
And kind of like hunched over and stuff. But yeah, like so, like throughout, like going forward, like it's shown that he has like really, really slow reflexes and stuff. Like he walks slow. He can't like react when they're playing a game of volleyball. So he's like getting bullied by this one student. And then Kyrie notices that, oh jeez. Oh my.
Yeah, because what happens is the bullies get mad and they decide to jump him by taking off all his clothes, which, like, I don't know, I have mixed feelings about, because that's kind of, like, weird, almost, it's kind of weird to just take off some dude's clothes, but, I don't know, I'd be kind of humiliated. I'd be pretty mad if somebody jumped me and stole all my clothes in the middle of school. Yeah, but then, so, like, they drag him out into the hallway, and then Kyrie and everybody sees his back, and there's, like, a weird spiral pattern on it. It's, like, shining or something, and then he kind of, like, notices they're looking at it, and he kind of, like, I don't know, he, like, worms his way back into the
the locker room. But then, I think the next couple days it's still continuing to rain, so he's showing up to school, but they notice that his back is getting more and more swollen, and there's this really pronounced spiral pattern on it. Then it eventually gets to the point where he shows up to class and he's like crawling along the ground. He's not wearing any clothes, but he has this big old snail shell on his back. And at this point, everybody's just freaking out. It's like, what's wrong with him? It's like they just cut it off after that. And then one day they find him, like he's come to school and he's like climbed up the wall of the building, and
at this point he's pretty much full snail mode.
Yeah, he's pretty much fully mutated. He's got the long stocky eyes and everything. Try to get his parents to come down and get him, but nah. So yeah, like crap, I think I'm talking too much. So they build a little enclosure for him and stuff. They keep him in there. I don't know why.
And then, what is it? Eventually, the bully, who's always making fun of the snail kid, eventually he starts turning into a snail as well. There's 2 snails at the school, and they end up putting them both in the same cage.
Yep.
And the story's actually a lot longer than I remember.
Yeah.
But yeah, they put them both in the same cage, and then was it because snails are apparently hermaphroditical, they start mating, and everybody's freaking out because, like, that's not right. They're both boys.
Not anymore.
Yeah, and then, what is it, the next day they find out the 2 snails escaped, so the teacher goes out and tries to find where they went, and they find a bunch of snail eggs, and the teacher just goes and stomps them all out. And it's revealed at the end of the comic that now the teacher has turned into a snail.
Spooky.
Yeah, so the one thing I do want to say about this story is I like that the teacher is one of the villains that, like, throughout the entire story he's portrayed as being a bad person just because, I don't know, I don't like school and I like it when teachers are portrayed as being, like, just these absolute jerks that are always, like, I don't know, harassing their students and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know, I feel mixed on this one. It has some good artwork. Like, when the kid's, like, eyes pop out of his head, that's pretty cool when he's transforming into a snail.
Yeah, the snail shells, the snail shells are actually really, really detailed looking. I'm looking at the teacher one now, and that must have been annoying to draw.
Yeah, no, the teacher looks very impressive. He's, like, all covered in little bumps and stuff, and
yeah.
I don't know, I have mixed feelings. So this one here is not exactly scary. It's more just kind of weird and gross.
Yeah.
And it's not one of my favorites. They did reference this one in the movie though, which was interesting.
Yeah.
Let's see, you have anything else you want to add to this one?
No, not really. I kind of agree with you. This is probably one of the more, I don't want to say forgettable, because I don't know, like, yeah, I'm mixed.
It's not forgettable, but it's one of the ones that's not scary. It's just really just weird and gross, and I think that's kind of what makes it stand out.
And it has no rules.
Yeah.
It's like, who turns into the snail people? Well, I don't know. It just seems like the bullies and I guess the teacher's technically a bully.
Mm-hmm.
So they get mutated.
Yep.
So, yep, our mutate count is up to 3, which I forgot to add at the end of the last one. We got a kill/mutate of 1 for Jack in the Box. This little kiddo gets run over and then becomes zombie.
How likely do you think it'll be that this story shows up in the manga? In the anime?
I'm going to say it's probably likely. Maybe not in full. Because, yeah, like, I was noticing this now, too. Like, it's pretty long for what it is. And I assume if there are any that are going to get kind of abridged, that this would be one of them.
That's true. They could either abridge this one, or if they wanted, they could just use this one as a full episode, because it's long enough to be one.
Yeah.
What are you rating it?
I give it a 4 out of 5. It's still not bad, but it's just kind of there. I don't know. Maybe 3.5 at worst.
Yeah, I think I give this one I'll give this one a 2.5 creepy Junji Ito heads out of 5.
Okay.
It's not one of my favorites. The next one the Black Lighthouse. This is one that was honestly a little disappointing for me because throughout the entire manga you can see in the background is this big, scary black lighthouse. And the story is not that great. It's okay. So what happens is that recently the old abandoned lighthouse has been like reactivated and it's, turned back on, it's spinning around, and for some reason everybody is like, they all find themselves like looking at it kind of dumbstruck whenever it like shines across them.
Yeah.
And there's been a lot of people going to explore to see what's happening, but they've been like disappeared just because nobody's operating it, so nobody really knows what's going on. And what is it? It causes people to become dizzy, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
I think there's a part where Kyrie is walking around, everybody's spinning around in circles. So eventually, Kyrie's little brother and his friends decide they're going to go explore the lighthouse. So, what is it? She goes with them, and that she goes inside, and obviously one of the spirals here is there's the big spiral staircase they have to get up. And when they get up to the top, they find there's been like a lot of spiral patterns on the walls, which, again, whoever had to draw that must have had a fun time. And then they eventually find a bunch of like burnt up dead bodies, which, again, the artwork there is pretty cool. Were you able to count how many dead bodies it was?
So there was like a crew of, I don't know who they were, like engineers or something, going to look at the lighthouse to figure out why it's still running. So there were like 5 of them. So like 5 total. Yeah, they say 3 and then there's 2 that she finds later. Yeah. So, yep, 5.
Yeah, and then when they get to the top, where the like normal light is supposed to be, there's just this big weird like molten spiral shaped thing, which I actually think is really cool. Yeah. Because it's kind of almost like it's sort of like what you see at the end of the comic. Spoilers for the end of this manga that came out like 20 something years ago. It looks like that big weird spiral thing you see at the end, which I think is pretty cool because as of up until this point we haven't really seen anything like that. I guess the pottery sort of, but it's this big weird molten metal spiral thing. And then what happens is that the sun goes down, they notice it's going to start turning on, so all the little kids and Kyrie have to run down the stairs because apparently when the thing activates it shoots a bunch of flame everywhere, and all the little boys get burnt up except for Kyrie's little brother, and she's able to escape. So
actually no, there were 2 of them that got out because they didn't want to go up and look at the light. So yeah, so it's only one little boy that got burned up.
Oh, okay. Still, it's still like a little like 10-year-old boy that just gets like freaking burnt to a crisp.
Roasty toasty.
And then like the next day she reports it to the authorities and they go and they take all the dead bodies out.
Yeah.
But what is it called? The lighthouse stays activated. So this one, I want to like this one more than I do because it's kind of like a cool little, almost like a Scooby-Doo mystery where there's like a big scary place they have to go explore. But first of all, this one's very short, and it's also incredibly forgettable. So I think I give this one 2.5 Junji Ito faces out of what's it called, 5.
Okay.
Anything you want to add to this story? There's really not much to say about this one.
No, so the total kill count for this story is 8 because there was actually like a ship that got pulled, like it ran aground because of the beam of light, and like apparently there were members of the crew that were found pacing on the deck, and apparently 2 of them were missing, and I'm gonna count those 2 as dead because if the other
the way we play.
Yeah, if the other 3 were like walking around in circles and then the other 2 fell into the ocean, and I doubt they would survive. But so yeah, the total is 8, including those 5 people that went in, the little kid, and then I guess those 2 missing crew members. So it's pretty high for such a forgettable story.
Yeah.
Well, that's about to change.
I don't know if this story will be in the anime, but I do know for a fact the Black Lighthouse will at least show up in the background because it's already been in a couple scenes.
Yeah.
That have been in the trailer.
It's kind of hard not to include it. It's pretty much the back, like you said, it's in the background a lot. All right, so yeah, I don't think I rated this. I give it a 3 out of 5.
Okay.
I do like the artwork, but at the same time, yeah, it's very short, very forgettable. And I don't know, I do like the one scene of the like lighthouse lens because it's almost alien-like.
Yeah.
That's... yeah. Thanks for listening to part 1 of our review of Uzumaki Volume 2. This overall review ended up being a little bit longer than we intended, so we are breaking it up. Part 2 should be uploaded shortly, if not in the same day. So please check that out when it comes out. And as always, let us know what your thoughts are in the comments below. Bye.